This week's episode is brought to you by Audible, the leading name in audiobooks. And they do just more than audiobooks. They do original spoken word content, and they do podcasts. And they have our podcast there. And if you're interested in some audiobooks, hey, maybe you want to listen to Band of Brothers by Stephen E. Ambrose, you can get it for free and a 30-day free trial of everything that Audible has to offer if you go to www.audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. That's www.audibletrial.com/cocktailsandclassics. Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. Joining me as always is Ben. And we're continuing Band of Brothers. We're at episode 7, The Breaking Point. We talked last week. We were like, okay, I said this was my favorite episode, following Roe, going through Bastogne. We had mentioned that, the episode title, the ratings, we were like, shit's about to go down. It was leading up to something. And let me tell you what, we weren't wrong.
Shit did in fact go down.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. I don't know about a lot of people. I'm somebody who I like to think a lot about what I'm watching. Whether that is analyzing what is happening as far as like actual content on the screen, or whether that is like, I work in film, so it's like cinematography, like, oh, the set direction here is cool. How do they do this shot? Like that sort of stuff. And I love things that kind of like stick with you, whether that is positive, negative. Like, I loved House. Everyone hated House. And I was like, it just makes me feel an emotion. It sticks with me. I kept thinking about that movie after the fact. This episode had that same effect on me of like, after I watched this episode, I kind of didn't feel good. Like, I kind of was like, man, that was a very intense episode and a lot happened. And I was still processing that for like the next day or two, where I was like, man, I hope Ben wants the podcast soon because I would love to talk about this episode, to digest it more.
I'm not a big I'm not a big gets emotionally attached to things or gets emotionally involved in movies or TV shows, but oh man, look, you guys know how this goes. We're gonna spoil everything. So at the end of the episode, when Lipton is just sitting in the church and it's running through the people that and aren't there and they fade. Oh my god. Oh, that one hurt just watching them kind of disappear, but I think the other thing that got to me was when it was Winter's quote, where it was not all scars are visible, and that's why the Easy Company is still so bonded together. And it was just like, wow, not something that, I think this, I don't know, there's a lot to dive into. I guess let's start off with the fact that this is a Lipton episode. Kind of gets a bit more of the spotlight here.
Yeah, and it's all I want to know if it was actually stuff that he had written. Are these actual writings from Lipton? Because I have been listening to, at the front of the episode you heard our little Audible plug, but I have been listening to the audiobook for Band of Brothers, and I've now caught up to the point where we are in the show. I don't want to keep listening and spoil the next episodes for me. So I am at this point of the show or the book, and he uses a lot of Webster, who I don't know if he's a character in the show, but he uses a lot of this guy named Webster. His writings that he had from the war, and letters that he had written, and quotes a lot of his stuff. And I was like, wow, is this where they're getting stuff? Did Lipton do this writing? And we talk about it because they do mention how Lipton goes and talks to Winters, and he's like, I don't think Dike is going to be a good leader, like that. They talk about that sort of stuff, but it's not like that part of the book is not told from Lipton's point of view like this episode is. So I don't know where the liberties came from, or if they have just so much more information than we have just in this book and watching the show. I don't know. I'd be very interested to see like the research material that they have for all of this, or if they're just finding interesting ways to tell this story more.
Yeah, so I'm looking here just to follow up to see with Webster. Webster is one of the soldiers who gets wounded at Crossroads. So I don't know, at least it for what it says in the bio section on the Band of Brothers wiki, I take that with a grain of salt, but yeah, I guess that would be kind of my
Okay, so
my
he is in
thought.
the show.
Yes, he is in the show.
Where to start, Ben? There's so much that happens in this
That's
episode.
where I was like, let's just talk about the fact that Lipton is the focus of this, but yeah, man, this I guess we can go just right in from the beginning. One, I mean, just the I think one thing that this episode does so well is showing that not only are they having to fight the Nazis in the forest and be on guard, but they really do a good job this episode of showing how brutal that winter was.
Yeah.
It is mid-July. It is mid-July, and I felt cold watching this episode.
In the book, he does mention like this was like the coldest winter on record at that point.
Right up front, they do a great job in this episode of really kind of showing you how bad up front it is.
And that is the part of the reason why Hubler dies. He's wearing so many clothes that when he has that Luger in it, like the clothes compress and fired off the Luger, and like that's why he got shot in the leg, which is like such an unfortunate way to die. These fucking Lugers, dude. Like he didn't even die from enemy fire. Like he killed a German, was like this crack shot guy, and just kind of like shit talking and being like, "Hey, you know, I got."
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? His crack shooting. He shot 3 times. He did not hit on the first attempt. He spooked the horse. The dude started running. He missed his second time, and then finally hit the third time.
Well, okay. He acts like he is. All right.
No, I know. I love that when he's telling everyone that of like how good of a shot he was, and it's just like, yeah, yeah, no, nope, wasn't actually that good of a shot.
Hubler is the guy. I don't know if you remember this though. Hubler's the guy who, when they first get to, I want to say it's like before
Normandy.
Is it before they jump, or is it at Normandy where he like takes the Luger from the guy and he's like inspecting it?
I thought it was in Normandy.
It probably is, because it wouldn't make sense
something. Yeah, that's right. It was when they landed in Normandy and he saw all the other guys, like they passed the other unit walking through, and the one guy had the Luger, so he was checking it out, and he's like, I'm gonna get me one of these. Yeah. Yeah, that one was just like the fact that, yeah, I mean, he just literally having a gun go off. And not just that it went off, but it hit his femoral artery. Like, that's just...
Like, how unlucky.
Yeah, exactly.
We did get my boy Ro back. He showed up for a few seconds to help out Hubler, but he's apparently been here the whole time, because I looked at the episode list, or like his character thing, and it was like, hey,
Wait.
Ro, he's been in 10 episodes or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you said Roback, like the old EMU quarterback, and I was like, who the fuck is Roback? I'm like, oh wait, no, you meant we get Ro space back.
Back.
Yeah, I think he's been in every episode. He's just very much unnoticed.
Yeah. Which is kind of like that's part of the thing where like I feel like episode 1 we were just kind of like I don't know who anyone is, like there's a lot going on. You don't really get introduced to people like you see scenes with people but no one's necessarily like hey, this is Cobb, this is Roe. Like I feel like later
Yeah, they did
that
not do a like introductory. And I kind of appreciate too that they didn't try to like shoehorn it. We're like, oh, here's the new recruit. All right, new recruit. This is. They kind of do that in this episode, but at
yeah,
this
but
point, you
it's
kind of know who everyone is. Like they're introducing like Garnier, um, Malarkey, some of the Lip, like the guys that you kind of already know. But
yeah. And it's almost it's not necessarily like humorous, but it is kind of like it's like everybody gets shot. And the thing is, here at Easy Company, you get shot in the ass or whatever. It's like kind of like a
which this episode does such a good job with callbacks because they call back to it at the end of the episode where Bull is carrying. Oh, who was it? Was it Picante that he's carrying?
yeah, it's Picante.
And Picante he's like, "Where'd you get shot?" And he's like, "It went one, it went right in and right out of my buttocks, sir." And then the other callback they do is when Hubler finds when he gets the Luger and he's bragging to everyone and he goes to Shifty and he's like, I might even be a better shot than 50 or than Shifty. And Shifty's like, I mean, I'm not nearly as good as my dad, but it's like obvious that he's trying to downplay it. And then at the end of the episode when Lip's like, all right, Shifty, you get one chance at this. And he runs out and Shifty from like across the field with an M1 just pops the German and you're like, oh wait, no, he's actually really good.
Yeah, I feel like the Hoopler thing just caught me so off guard. Which I mean, like, that's what happened.
It
That's what it is. But like,
it
you're
caught
just
me
kind of
off
like,
guard, but I'll be honest, as soon as I heard like the shot, I was like, "Oh, he shot himself." Like that was my first thought. I wasn't expecting he's dead, but I was expecting he shot himself.
he was goofing off and just kind of yeah, not just like
Yeah,
a
I thought it
complete
was more like
accident.
he shot someone or he shot someone else. Like, "Oh my god, I dropped the Luger and it went off and it hit somebody in the shoulder or something."
Back to like this episode is like the Lipton episode. We see so much like things that I feel like we've seen a lot from Winters of this like leadership and like stepping up, and like Lipton is completely that in this episode. He is leading the company because Dike sucks. Dike is off on walks, but I think he is literally leaving the front lines and just going back away from combat or like whatever's happening. I think he's just leaving because he doesn't want to be
Oh,
in
I mean,
like
that's like
engagement.
every time he has a call, that's him just getting off the front line.
Yeah,
I don't think he has an actual call to make. He's just getting off the line, going back to the battalion station, and then kind of staying there for a bit. Probably bullshitting with, the higher ups. I mean, kind of even over Winters and that.
yeah. Because I mean that's the thing. I think they talk about it a little bit in here, but it's like the only reason he was promoted was because he's you know friends with somebody or he's connected.
Colonel Sink likes him.
He's not a good leader. He's just like the bureaucratic choice basically. And partway or towards the end of the episode, like literally everybody's trying to get rid of him. Like Winters is like, I
Yeah.
can't get rid of him. I wish I could. And they mention Buck where they're like, everyone's like he is one of the best soldiers in the company. He's not quite the same since Holland when he got shot, but like he should be the leader.
He's not the same, but he's still good with the men. He still has combat leadership experience. Like he should be the guy. But I yeah, this one was poor Buck.
I know, dude. I was so ready. So
I knew it was coming, but I'll be honest. And I'm glad it was this, and it wasn't like him because of it dying.
yeah, I was. We talked about like we were probably going to see a lot happen. And the beginning of the episode, they're talking about like death is like the interviews at the beginning, like death is everywhere. You don't have time to process your friends dying, like in the moment in battle, like it's just something that happens, and like so I was like, oh man. And then the HBO thing is a picture of Buck. The IMDb thing for the episode is a picture of Buck, and I was like, no, Buck. Like, we've talked about how he's kind of like, and like, everyone's mentioning it in the episode, like he's been acting different, and then he like, he tells Toy and Garnier like, I can't lose you. Don't do anything stupid. Like, I've invested too much time and like into you guys, and they're just kind of like, yeah, like we want to make it out here too, but like, man, like it's rough to watch too. Like, I saw he claims that he wasn't as like shell shocked as the show puts out. Like yes, it messed with him, and in the book he says he ran all the way from like once he saw them, he ran back to like the battalion, like to an aid station to like get somebody like yelling medic, and he did like leave, like he had trench foot or whatever and got dismissed, but like yeah, it sucks. Like, I mean, hell, I was just so invested. Like when Garnier runs out there to like help Toy, I was like, no, no, don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, that one was just like, and honestly, Buck got me, but what got me I think worse was also towards the end of the episode when Lipton goes up and Malarkey has like the rosary
Yeah,
and the cross, and because, well, I guess let's dig into, so yes,
Toys was
Toy gets
rough.
back. Toy gets back, and then like literally nights later loses his leg.
His entire leg.
Uh,
Just,
and then while trying to be saved by Garnier, they get shelled. Garnier's leg. Jesus Christ! Hold on, let me try that again. You can leave this in because it's funny, but Garnier's leg gets shredded. That's a goddamn tongue twister. Uh, and so they're both kind of hit by a nearby shell. Um, so they're both kind of just stuck there during the shelling, which is when Buck kind of reaches his breaking point. The next night is when they get hit. Yes, Muck and Pinkala get hit, and I don't know. Is it Luz? I always want to put a T in there, like Lutz.
yeah, let's.
I feel like that's how I would pronounce it.
I think it is let's.
Okay, so Lutz and
Dude,
Lipton,
that one was
they get
rough too.
shelled, and the shell just doesn't go off. But the one that when you're literally watching Luz crawl towards the foxhole, and they're like,
They're
get
like,
in, get in.
hole, get in the
Oh
hole.
my god! And then it gets blown up.
And then you just see them
Yeah.
destroyed. Yeah,
So.
yeah, that was bad. I mean, Toys was so rough.
Oh yeah,
though,
that
dude.
one.
Like, I know we kind of talked about in the one episode where the German dude like gets, well, I forget, I think he got shot or whatever, and then gets ran over by the tank.
Oh yeah, mine's still watching the
Like that
dude.
one was pretty
Mine's still
brutal.
watching the dude who got grazed in the neck, and they're just like stuck watching
Yeah,
him die
and
with his neck
that
wound.
one was rough. I mean, Toys was rough because he's like, he's still like, he's still completely like aware of what's going on too. Like he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like trying to crawl with like a stump and a leg, and you're just like,
What a total badass! Then like as they're wrapping his leg, and he's just like, "Hey, give me a smoke." And then his response is, "What's a guy gotta do to die around here?" What a baller phrase to just be like, "Yeah, fuck you, I'm still alive."
And then him and Garnier, like when they take Bill first, and he's like, told you I'd get back to the States before you. Or whatever. You're just like, come on.
But so all this to say though is just at the end of the episode, Malarkey is there with I think it's Muck's rosary, but I'm not sure. But they literally kind of mention that his three closest friends, really like four closest friends, all are gone. Buck was the last one who was just leaving because of the shell shock. Well, I shouldn't call it that. Because of the PTSD. Let's call it what its proper term is now. But yeah, but because of that, like now he has all of his friends are gone. Within like 3 days, he's lost all of his closest friends. And it's just like, damn, that's tough. But to see him when Lipton gives him the Luger to bring home, and then when he asks him about taking a couple days just to work with winners, and he's like, no, I think I'm going to stay here. Oh, what a guy. Team player.
All of that, and like the only two that we really like lost in this whole thing was Muck and Pincala, because Garnier survives, Toy survives, and Buck. I had to look up because I was like, all right, Buck, do you know Lynn Compton's life? I feel like this man has lived one of the craziest lives.
Didn't he come home and didn't he end up being like a like police commissioner or something like that? Like he joined like the
So in college, so they make the comment of like,
yeah,
oh, like UCLA
UCLA.
is not the same without you on the
Yeah.
team or whatever. So he played college football, then he switched to baseball. He was teammates with Jackie Robinson at UCLA, and then he played at guard for the UCLA football team in the 1943 Rose Bowl game. He he started for them. Then he went, did all of his stuff with like the army, got into criminal justice. Yes, he went to be a police officer at the LAPD, and went to like Loyola Law School. He later became like chief deputy district attorney. He led the successful prosecution of Sirhan Sirhan for the murder of Robert F. Kennedy. And then in 1970, Ronald Reagan appointed him as an associate justice of the California Courts of Appeal, and then he retired in 1990. So like, this dude's like had like the craziest life.
Damn. This man's a fucking OG. I knew there was a reason I liked Buck Compton. Makes sense. Dude's awesome.
And apparently, at his 90th birthday, he had nearly 200 people in attendance, including Michael Cudlitz, James Matteo, Neil McDonough, Richard Speight Jr. And then like McDonough and him had developed a friendship from him portraying him in the show, and like they kept in touch afterwards and stuff. They really were like, I think I made the joke, or like he was talking about it, but like I want to see the band of brothers. Like I feel like we're there now. Like we are seeing this like bond and brotherhood that really can't be even described. I feel like today. I mean, maybe it can if you're in the army and stuff, but like these dudes went through everything together, and like now we're seeing like Buck is like one of the prime examples. Like he tells the guys like, I've invested too much time in you. We are too close. Do not do anything stupid. I don't want to lose you.
Well, what's crazy is you think Buck didn't come in until like right before the jump.
Yeah, he was the one that Winters tells him like, don't
Hey, don't get too close.
don't be in a position
Yeah.
to take anything from these men. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it was kind of a cool thing to see that they've been, because I know that was one of the things that was interesting, jumping around talking about the situation with Dike, was Lipton was like, you got to keep in mind, like, hey, we've been together 2 years, and we all went through combat training together. So keep in mind, like a new CO has to deal with that. They have to deal with not being a part of the group. I would not want to be a new CO here.
Well, and it just kind of blows because like I feel like if they had a CO brought in from Easy Company, someone who's been in the ranks with all these guys, like they wouldn't have been in the position where they were with Dike at the end of the episode, where he fucking sucks. Like,
Oh,
like,
all right. Let's have this conversation about the end of the episode. Yeah, one, Dike completely blows it.
I mean, Lipton before the night before, so they're going to take Foie, I think is where how
Foy.
you pronounce it. Well,
Oh, I've been
it's
calling it Foy.
I
If
think
it were
it's
Foi, it would be FOI.
all right. Well, I'm just saying it how they say it in the book. But
Oh, all right. Well, la di fucking
Foy,
da.
Foie, whatever it is, they're gonna go take this city um, to like advance on the Germans, and Lipton the night before they go to do this tells Winters, "I don't trust Dike. I don't believe in him, and he's gonna get easy company men killed in this operation." Winters doesn't believe in him. He wishes he could replace him. He can't do anything because he technically doesn't have that right. We go on this mission, and they kind of, I feel like, if I'm remembering it correctly, they kind of like tell him, like, don't fuck this up. Like, I need you to be here. Winters tells him that, right? Before they go in the thing?
Yeah. I mean, he kind of. Yeah.
On the mission, they have to leave this tree line out into this open field where there are some hay bales and some like outbuildings to get into this town. And part of their mission is they're just gonna run straight out there, and they have to advance into the city. But at a certain point, Dike can't see Foley. He can't see Foley, who is another one of the squadrons, and he starts to freak out because he can't see Foley. And so he tells his men to freeze in the middle of the field, and like everyone huddles up out behind this like one little hay bale, and dudes are just getting picked off by the sniper in the building. And Winters is like freaking out from the tree line. He's about to go in there himself, and what's his name? Sink is like, you're the executive officer, brother. You can't go out there. So he stops, and then we get the man, the myth, the legend, who ends up being
Oh my god. Let's fucking dive into this, dude. The baddest of all fucking badasses. Oh. You know it's gonna be a cool character when, as they're introducing him, he's running through smoke like a fucking like a goddamn superhero. It's just,
I know this is like it's a piece of fiction surrounded like nonfiction. I just want to know if Spears is like this fucking crazy dude, because in the show they make him out to be like this. I said he's like a meme, this like mythic movie soldier where you're like, yeah, he's running through the smoke. He like he's the boogeyman basically because of the did he shoot the POWs? Did he shoot his own guy because he was drunk? And then like Winters has to tap him in, and he just sprints into this battle, and it's just like, Dike, I'm taking over. Get the fuck out of here. And like, just some of the shit that
okay.
he does.
Well, like running through the German lines, and the Germans are like, "What the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
Shoot him? What the fuck
Like,
do we
no.
do?" And then
Yeah.
he turns around and runs back.
Dude, yeah. Or
What?
when he first like once they first leave Dike, he like is running. He like puts his arm around one of the dudes to like get him to keep running, and that dude gets sniped, and he just keeps running. Like he just like drops the dude and keeps running. You're just like, what the fuck, dude?
You want to get into how much of an actual real life badass this dude was?
Oh, please enlighten me.
All right. So, so there's the whole thing about the rumor about him giving the Nazi POWs the cigarettes and then shooting them. But he was at the Breakcourt Manor assault. It says he took 5 soldiers and a Fox Company soldier, and he single-handedly took out a howitzer on his own. Which you see, that's in episode 2 or 3, when they're taking out the things and he just runs up and destroys something. During Carrington, he moved. That's when he encountered Blythe.
Yeah, that's
And
where he
told him
like
that, yeah. So
he like tells him
yes.
like you just have to accept like that you're gonna die or something. Like it's just a part of the job
Yeah,
or something crazy with it.
yeah. So, in during Normandy, Spears was wounded by a grenade in the face and knee. He recovered and then returned back and jumped into Holland in September. During one operation, he swam across the Nieder River with vital information in spite of being shot by a machine gun, which was still firing at him as he swam the river. What the fuck? This dude is
God.
nuts.
I loved the I love the bit. I mean, that's where I like wrote the boogeyman bit. Was like, they were talking about Spears. They're like, "Yeah, dude, the cigarette thing," and then he like came and offered them the cigarettes, and they're like, "No, that's okay."
Okay, so this gets even crazier. All right, so they get through. I just read a bit of a spoiler for what happened, but this was a spoiler I already knew happens at some point. But anywho, after Germany surrenders, Spears decides to stay back and prepare to fight in Japan. The dude, Japan surrendered before he got there, but he was legitimately going to go fight in Japan. And then he volunteered to fight in Korea and was a commander of a rifle company there. What the hell?
This dude's just like he's like a super soldier. I feel like.
This dude is literally like Captain America IRL. Oh, I love how the rumor started. So this is kind of funny. The rumor started with the POWs. It started with 20 Nazis. And then and later he shot all but one. And then it dropped down to 6. And then oh, he's also the dude who shot one of the sergeants for being drunk and insubordinate.
Yeah, I do love the part at the end of the episode, in the church where Lipton asks him about that, where he's like, "Are any of these rumors true?" And he's kind of like, "Well, you know, I'm not gonna say no or whatever, And he's like, "Well, if you didn't do it, you would say you didn't do it." It's like, "Yeah, but sometimes the rumors like help me become the baddest man in the company."
Maybe you don't say you didn't do it if you need people to think you're the baddest man. You're like, oh shit, all right.
But then he's like genuinely like a good guy. Like you feel like you're like, this guy, I hate this guy, but then now he's a good guy when he's
I
like,
hated this guy for the first like 4 episodes, but now he's so badass and cool. I can fix him.
yeah. When he's like talking to Lipton and he's basically like, they've had a leader this whole time. Like he's like, you don't even know who I'm talking about. It's you, motherfucker. You're awesome. Here's a promotion. It's coming in a couple days.
Yeah. Yeah, heads up, we put in for a promotion because you did such a great job. Everyone's hated me, but now we're best friends.
Did we just become best friends?
Oh, we also lose. This
Oh,
one was
Webb.
sad, but we lose a couple soldiers to the sniper fire during the celebration of their success of taking Foy.
That was a little.
That one was
I was like, damn.
that
no.
one caught me off guard.
We do see Nixon being useful. That was pretty cool. Still waiting on that Nixon episode.
We'll get there someday. I'm sure. I'm sure of it.
He in the book, it sounds like he is just like that. In the book, it talks about where I think it was Carrington or the Operation Market Garden. I forget which one, where he like the bullet catches his helmet. So it actually, I don't know if we really got this or discussed this. It went through his helmet, but at an angle where it didn't hit him. Like it just singed his hair. Like it actually did go through his helmet. And it's said that night he got so fucking drunk off of like alcohol that he found, and then later on it does talk about the piss pitcher that is tossed on him. So like Nixon does sound like he is actually how he is in the series. So I was like, all right. It's interesting listening to the book and watching it like while you're watching the series, because like there's not necessarily a lot that like reading the book or listening to it like adds to your experience of like the series. I feel like the series does a very good job of like hitting a lot of the major points, and like then when you listen to the book it's like a lot more like statistical, like slight minute details where it's like, okay, that's some more information that I would have liked to know, or like certain things, but there's nothing that I'm like, wow, they left this out, or wow, I wish they would have done more with this. Because, I mean, hell, listening to the book is only like, I think it's 6 hours total, or something like
Oh,
that. So it's like, the
well, hell.
series is longer than.
Yeah.
I did like, we talked about it last episode, the how we hated, or I hated at least, the end card where it was like, oh, the guys didn't like it that Patton came and saved them. They didn't think that they needed Patton to do that. And then later in this episode, they call back to that when the news crew is around, and the one guy is like, "Yeah, well, fuck Patton. We didn't need him." I'm like, oh my god, that was nice. I liked that. I don't know if I needed the
Yeah,
the
I
end
prefer
card.
that. I also like how Winters pulls the guy aside and he says something. He's like, "Oh, what, the patent line?" And he goes, "No, I fully agree with you on the whole patent thing." It's just like, oh, that's such a Winters thing to say.
Back to Dike. He's so. I don't know how he's like schmoozed his way to this point, because he is fucking awkward as hell when he's like talking to Lipton, and he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, West Virginia." "Huh? Do you
I
miss
gotta
it?"
go make a call.
Yeah, he's like, "Where are you from?" He's gone. Oh, all right.
All right, bye. Well, and the thing is every time they're like, "Where's Dyke?" and I'm just like, "Have we seen Dyke before?" It literally, I had to ask myself, like, "Wait a minute, have we actually seen this dude?" I feel like every time they talk about him, he's gone. Then when I saw him on screen, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's him. I guess. All right."
Well, and then also just they always look to him at points where they're like, "Hey, we need you to make a decision or whatever," and it's like, Lipton, take care of this.
You guys know what's going on.
Yeah,
You can handle it.
yeah.
All right.
Break it down for me, Lipton. I'm gonna go make a phone call. Cool. Great.
Thanks, man. You're doing a great job, bud. So what's really weird is that I'm reading up on him. So he's portrayed as incompetent, but I guess they say he did organize and lead like groups of parachutists in the defense of oh god, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this. One of the roads in Normandy, one of the supply routes when he was completely surrounded. So, I mean, like I guess like he also received a Bronze Star at Bastogne, in which I guess they say he basically like carried out three wounded members of the company while under fire. So it's interesting, but I think, and I don't know, I know that they say he's not, and I'm sure it's probably that he just didn't get along or wasn't close with the guys, but I mean they do say that like he did do some good things with the company. It was just after that assault on Foy, which I mean, again, rightfully so, this episode being called Breaking Point, it definitely looked like he was under he just was in over his head at that point, which isn't great. But I mean, it's not like they do kind of make it seem like they do make it seem like he's completely incompetent in this show. And I guess it does say in in Richard Winter's autobiography, uh, Winters, Garnier, and Heffron, they basically all speak of him like they basically talked about how he was constantly gone without any explanation. He paid no attention to the men, and he frequently just stayed inside of his foxhole. Apparently, it earned him the nickname of Foxhole Norman. Foxhole Norm, what up, dude? Also, shout out to the First Battalion. Fuck you guys. You don't shit in a man's foxhole. It's just a dick move, and I don't approve. I don't approve of your methods, all right? Not cool. Not cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've never been in that situation, but I feel like I wouldn't be shitting in a foxhole anyways. Like, are you gonna sit in your own feces? That's a little.
I mean, I guess their thought is they'd rather do that than try to get out and then possibly die, but
Yeah. We talked about how like we really see Lipton like become a leader in this episode, but like, man, like when the shit hits the fan, he steps up and he, you know, really. I wish he would have done more in. I mean, I guess he can't because he's not the officer. Like he's but like when they go to take Foy or Foy, whatever, um, like I wish he could have done more because he's like literally just sitting there yelling at Dike, like, "What are we doing? We're sitting ducks here, man!" Like,
yeah, kind of that like we gotta get moving. Kind of gotta get a move on here, dude. What are we? And then he's just going through, and you can hear Winters like Winters on the phone. Come on, what are you doing? But also, again, just goes to show, and I will say it's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about like I guess I expected Winters to just go back in and keep doing more fighting on like throughout things.
yeah,
So I'll be curious to see if he goes like and continues, but
Is there anything you've been watching that you want to talk about? Playing, media, books, anything? Nothing.
I wish no. Uh I've been uh just watching subscribe to Dropout, which is like the College Humor. They now have like a streaming series. So they have some cool shows on there. If you've ever seen like Actually, that's cool. So it's kind of like a bunch of different. I mean, they do like different like game show type things, but I've been binging the latest season of Fantasy High, which is a Dungeons and Dragons type game they do. But that's been pretty much it. Otherwise, there's been too much travel to really kind of do much. I've been on the road so much. So
Oh,
by
they
the
do
time
the.
I've gotten home,
They're the ones who do Game Changer.
yeah, yep.
Okay, I've seen. I've never watched an actual episode. I just always see the TikTok clips.
I mean, it's a cool streaming show. I remember all the original like College Humor stuff. So when I see like the cast as they come into stuff, I'm like, oh hey, I remember this guy.
Oh my god, there's been a like TikTok that has like been making the rounds back, like whitest kids you know skits and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this was such like peak internet era.
I saw the one thing they brought up of like Howard Dean, when he did like the yaw. We're gonna take Michigan. We're gonna take Wisconsin, and we're gonna take back the White House. Yeah. And they're like, remember when this disqualified you from being president? I'm like, man, I remember the Chappelle sketch of that so much. He just tore into it. Oh my god. I'm like, I haven't watched that clip in forever, and then I rewatched it. I'm like, god damn it. Fucking peak Chappelle show. Plenty I wish I could watch through and get back into, but with all the fucking plane travel and being gone, it's just been there's been no time to watch anything. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed in the movie selection on my flights.
Mm.
Didn't see anything that was like, oh, I really need to see that.
I'm not a I'm not a plain screen kind of guy. If I'm gonna watch
I mean,
something
most
on a
of the
plane, I bring my iPad, download them.
yeah, it depends. Like, it depends how long the flight is for me,
Are you a
right?
raw dogging kind of guy? You're all natural.
No,
You just
God
sit there and
no.
watch the flight map.
Those people are fucking insane.
I do that, but I obviously have other stuff going. Like I'm listening to like stuff in my headphones, or I'm like watching something, and then I have the flight map up.
Oh yeah, I keep the flight. There's times I keep the flight because there's times I'm. Look, all right. When you get that status with Delta, and you get to pick your seat, you pick the window seat because it's free to pick it. When I'm looking out the window, sometimes I want to know what I'm looking at.
What is that mountain range?
Sometimes
What is that
there's
city?
some sort of yeah. Huh. Where are we? That's a pretty big hole in the ground. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we're Grand Canyon. That checks out. Huh. It's a pretty big river. What's that? Oh, yeah, huh. Crazy how that happens. So yeah, I do. I like to keep the flight map up, but yeah, I'm also either at that point, if I have Wi-Fi, I'm either watching something. I'm watching something downloaded, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm playing games on my phone. But the people now who are just like, oh yeah, I just sit quietly, wait, like it's 1968. We're just all having a good time. Read a book, nerds.
Just anything. Be the annoying person who talks to somebody on a flight. Don't just fucking sit there and stare at the screen. What the fuck, you psychopath?
Psychopath.
Fucking get the air marshal on this dude. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah. No, I saw a thing about that, and I'm like, who the fuck does this? Who goes and is like, you know what? I'm on a 6 hour flight to San Francisco. I'm just gonna do it. Why? Are you kidding me?
For
I
the
put
views
headphones
now.
in so I could watch something while I fell asleep on my red eye. It's a red eye. That would be the perfect time to just not need anything. Go to sleep. Fuck you. Give me my free entertainment. I paid for it.
Time is winding down. If you haven't been watching along, go to HBO Max and catch up. We're
There's
starting.
still time to binge.
There is. You could binge. We've been going weekly. Hopefully, you've been watching along. But next week's episode 8. There's only 10. Hopefully, you've been listening. Hopefully, you've been watching. Check us out next time as we do The Last Patrol. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to rate, subscribe, share us with your friends. Head over to cocktailsandclassicspod.com and subscribe to the newsletter. If you missed July's monthly newsletter, you missed some fun trailers and some trivia. Head over to our Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and let us know your thoughts on Band of Brothers over there. And as always, watch responsibly.